All right, welcome to the Dialectics breakdown of UFC 263 with your co-hosts
Daniel.
and Anirudh Garg. Yes, I almost forgot his name. Man, today, Daniel, this card was absolutely amazing. Now, what was your opinion of the first fight of the night between Paul Craig and Jamahal Hill?
Yes. The first thing I noticed that was very interesting was that Paul Craig decided to pull guard, which is usually a very bad thing to do in MMA because of ground and pound. In Jiu-Jitsu, a lot of people do that because you don't have to worry about punches coming down. So that's like a 50-50 position in Jiu-Jitsu, but in MMA, it's usually very disadvantageous. So
Especially the judges when they're scoring.
yeah, so that was a very
Yeah.
interesting decision, and he managed to get submissions, obviously, from that position. So must be
Yeah,
very
I mean,
confident in his jiu-jitsu.
very confident. I mean, he went for the overhooks and he was ready to set up the armbar from guard immediately. That's, I think, I could never imagine doing that. Even in jiu-jitsu, I could never pull guard. I always feel terrible doing it. I could never even fathom doing it in MMA. So that was just amazing.
Yeah, because I don't know that much about jiu-jitsu, but when you go for an armbar, is the risk of what's the main risk of like directly going to an armbar? Getting your guard
From the
passed?
guard, yeah, that's usually the big one. But usually when people are smart, whenever they go for the armbar, they have other things set up, right? Whether it's your omoplata, whether that's your triangle, you have options going forward. And Paul Craig had so many of those options ready. From the overhook, he was going to go for different types of arm bars to tweak people from different sides. He had an omoplata ready. I'm pretty sure he was setting up butterfly hooks for a triangle in the future. He had everything ready for him. And then at that point, every time Jamahal Hill got back into the guard, he was once again put in that same threat until he got into the position where he couldn't escape, and then his arm snapped. It went 90, 180, 270.
Yeah.
And it brought back bad memories to when I broke my arm as a kid. I almost vomited seeing that.
So you know that
It was-
overhook armbar that he started where
Yes.
Jamahal Hill put his hand on the mat, which isn't that like the rookie mistake in jiu-jitsu? You're never supposed to put your hand on the mat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more forgiving when you're not wearing a gi, because at least the gi, there's a lot of friction that can help hold it into place.
Really?
But
Wouldn't
yeah,
wouldn't the
that's-
friction help with the gripping of the arm when you're doing the armbar?
Yes, gripping of the arm, so that's making it harder to escape. So the rookie mistake of keeping your arm on the mat is more it's nullified a bit by not.
Oh,
being
okay.
in a gi.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Got it
Yeah, so
reversed.
that fight
Yeah.
was absolutely insane. Just even thinking about it makes me shudder. But
watched
the
an-
next fight.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, you had something to say?
I watched the interview. Paul Craig was upset that he didn't get a submission win, but he got a TKO win. I found that very funny because did you think it was a TKO or he didn't get knocked out? He was just like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, that was just a ref stoppage. I mean, honestly speaking, the ref should have probably stopped the fight earlier. And honestly, the Nevada State Athletic Commission, or I think it's the Arizona one this time, they have weird systems for naming everything. All in all, it's a weird thing to be upset about. He finished a guy in the first round. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's just vanity, like
Maybe.
he wanted to continue his streak of submissions.
Yeah, I think he has the second most submissions in light heavyweight history, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, he has more opportunities in the future, given how well he performed tonight. All right, so let's talk about Damian Maia versus Bilal Muhammad.
You can talk about
This
that.
this was the only fight I predicted, and you sadly were on an airplane, so you can catch this one. But this fight was very interesting because it went down exactly as I predicted it. I predicted that Damian Maia would win the first round, and according to most judges, he did. He would go for the takedown, he would put a lot of pressure, expend a lot of energy. But Bilal Muhammad surprised everyone by how good his single leg defense is. He was able to balance in one leg all the way back to the cage and stuff Damian Maia's takedowns. Maia only got a couple in the beginning, and afterwards, nothing. And then on the hands, Bilal Muhammad did a good job keeping up the pace and outstriking Maia. First round he lost because of general pressure and grappling. Second two rounds, Bilal Muhammad won handedly. So this was the only fight that I predicted, and I predicted it 100%. So I felt very proud of this one. But the
Interesting.
next fight,
Wait, I have a few questions though
of
about
course.
that fight.
Hmm.
So I was always wondering if you have a single leg and the other guy is bouncing on one leg, why can't you just kick out that leg with your leg? Is there some kind of counter to that? Do you jump over that leg?
Wait. So let me get your understanding. So you have trapped my leg.
Hmm.
Are you asking me why I don't use the other leg to kick out?
No, no, no. I'm asking you like, if I have your leg
Hmm.
and you are hopping around, why can't, let's say, I stick out my leg and trip you?
So generally speaking, that is a technique. There are a lot of trips designed with it. The only problem is in the position that you're hunched over, your legs are close together. You trying to move around it means that you lose a lot of the tightness that you have in holding their leg. A common thing is to tuck their leg in between both of your legs so you can have control over it.
Mm,
You
okay.
trying to stick your leg to trip keeps space, and for me to stop a single leg from you, all I have to do is try to get the leg that you have in the air back to the ground, pushing forward and putting my weight on you. That puts you in a really bad position, so it's very hard to set up a trip from that position.
Okay, I see. So it's like a trade-off between the one technique and the other technique.
Yeah, your
Mm.
best option though is to go from the legs to go grab around the hip. When you're around the hip, then you can try going for the trip because now you have a better leverage point around the hips.
Mm. Okay, I see.
But obviously, because you were against Bilal Muhammad ended up against the cage. Damien Maya didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah. All right. Next fight.
So yeah, next fight very interesting. Leon Edwards versus good old Nate Diaz. Now I had a bonkers prediction. I thought Leon Edwards would get DQ'd once
Was
again.
that just for a hot take? Like, I don't think you actually thought that was gonna happen, right?
No, I unironically thought that Leon Edwards was cursed and that he would lose
Mm.
somehow in the dumbest way possible.
He
And
almost
to be
lost.
fair,
Yes.
in that vein, yeah, he almost did lose. Like the first 4 rounds. Actually, I even believe like the round where Nate Diaz got super bloody, I count that as a 10-8.
Mm.
But the first few rounds, it was awful. Nate Diaz could do nothing.
Yeah.
And Leon Edwards was putting the pressure from the top and on the feet.
Mm. Yeah.
And I was legitimately worried that the fight would get stopped because of how much blood was spraying everywhere.
Yeah. Same. I even at the in the beginning of the fifth round, I thought there's absolutely no chance Nate. Like he was getting for every punch he threw, Leon landed three punches or something. It was just like
Yeah.
Leon was toying with him, and then Nate always just throws that 1-2 right left so quickly. It's just like papa, and it's such a basic technique that you feel like that wouldn't be the reason why Leon Edwards could almost lose, but it was. He just ba-bam, like after completely losing the whole round, just a 1-2 and almost won the fight.
Wait,
That was insane.
so I'm gonna push back on this. I don't think Leon Edwards was playing with Nate Diaz. I think Nate Diaz was memeing with Leon Edwards.
Mm, really?
Like with his back hunched over, it looked like he was exhausted. He would give up his back, start walking around the cage casually. He would just like turn his back and walk away from him. That's classic
Yeah.
Nate Diaz.
But I sort
And I
of
think
thought like Nate Diaz was memeing, but at the same time, he was doing it as a cover up for him actually being outstruck and wanting to run
definitely.
away, kind of.
Well, I don't think it was a matter of running away, but to but to break the pace, and put Leon Edwards on notice. Because every time he did that, he was able to at least land one counter.
That's true.
So I think it was just part of his strategy of keeping the fight unpredictable, which he does handedly.
Yeah.
He's amazing at keeping it unpredictable.
Hmm.
The same guy who got into a fight on a hospital bed is the same guy who's going to give us one of the most entertaining fights of the night. It is what it is.
Wait, what do you mean?
Oh, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story, but Nate Diaz was hospitalized along with another UFC fighter, and then in the hospital bed, they both got into a fight
Oh, wait, wasn't
in the
that
medical ward.
Nick Diaz? I think
Was
that
it
yeah, I think
Nick?
it was Nick Diaz. I remember that
Oh,
commercial that always played. Right.
okay,
Yeah.
maybe. It's, I mean,
But
Diaz brothers
same
are cut
thing.
from the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
cloth. Yeah.
Hmm.
He's the guy who would smoke at him at the press conference. He was. I am 100% sure that Nate Diaz was high going into this fight.
You know, I was actually like curious about that because I was like, okay, wait, is it legal to do that? I don't know if Arizona legalized or anything, but and he did that before. He actually remember. I don't know if you remember, but he's in one of the previous fights. He smoked a joint and then he gave it to the audience, and then they just like passed it around. I was like, what the how is that legal? And
Well, so
I
I
think
believe
I think
USADA
it's
doesn't
actually
test.
like not like weed. I think it's some kind of
Like CBD
CBD
pen.
only.
Oh.
No, it's like a weed, but they took out the THC, so it's not
Mm,
psychoactive and it's just CBD. And he's just
possibly.
yeah, I think that's what's going on.
But also, isn't USADA no longer testing for marijuana? I thought they stopped that
Oh,
as per new policy. I'm not 100% sure on this.
mm. But either way, I feel
Uh,
like it wouldn't be legal for him to do that.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, I think it should be, but it's probably not in Arizona, not in conservative Arizona.
yeah,
Uh, but honestly, that fight was kind of crazy. And towards the end, when I legitimately thought, okay, if this fight would have gone 30 more seconds, I think Nate Diaz would have knocked out Leon Edwards. It would have been a
yeah.
TKO.
I know.
And that pisses me off so much because looking at it, the judges literally scored it unanimously 50-45.
Yeah,
And looking at this, I just think, okay, yeah, Nate Diaz won that fight. I can't help but feel that.
yeah. I've always wondered, like, hypothetically, what would happen if, for example, um, you had complete domination, so like 200 significant strikes to one significant strike the entire fight, and then they get dropped so bad at the end, and like they're just raining down punches, but right before the ref stops the fight, the buzzer rings, and
Well, that almost happened with, what was that? Korean Zombie versus Yair Rodriguez.
mm,
Korean Zombie was winning the first two rounds and the third round perfectly, and then 5 seconds into the right before it ended, he got hit by a spinning elbow and got knocked out.
yeah.
That almost happened there.
But let's say like right before he fell to the ground, the buzzer rang, and so like the ref didn't even stop
Ooh.
it.
See, that would be tough.
Yeah. Because in everyone's mind, you know, like, okay, he lost because he got knocked out. But
If I was the judge, I would have made the last round a 10-5 for Nate Diaz.
yeah, same.
And then Nate Diaz would have won.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, he would have won at least one judge.
Mhm. I think
Though I'd
Nate,
probably.
if he did 10 round fights, he would be like maybe the champ.
10 round fights, I don't think there'll be anyone but Nate Diaz in the UFC.
That's true. It would just be Nate versus Nick Diaz.
Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, but it would still be amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Well, Nate Diaz, sad but always entertaining.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the co-main event because this one had me at the edge of my
Oh,
seat.
yeah. When I was watching that on the plane, luckily that was like the fight that my Wi-Fi was working, but it was like the best fight. Um, I was shaking and I was trying to calm myself down, but I couldn't because like I was honestly scared for Moreno, like you were saying in your prediction. Um, the last fight was very close, but Figueiredo wasn't at 100% as people were saying, right? And he didn't even
Yeah,
train. He fought 3 weeks before the fight, so
and he was hospitalized the day before.
yeah, exactly. So I would have expected Figueiredo to like do much better than he did, but surprisingly, Figueiredo like could not land shots on Moreno, and Moreno was so sharp. And I was
Yeah, I
thinking
thought.
Moreno is a very smart fighter. Like he's always defensively sharp. Every time he throws a punch, he like leans back and keeps his hand up, and he
No, definitely.
yeah.
His fundamentals are crazy. But here's the thing, right? I thought we saw Brandon Moreno at his 100%. Tonight we saw him at 150%.
Yeah.
He's a completely different fighter. And I don't know if you caught this, if you remember this clearly, but there was one point where Figueiredo was going for the guillotine, right? The same guillotine he tried to go in many other people.
Hmm.
But I think because Moreno had the familiarity with it, he had the right timing to escape. And that small detail, I think, was a big reason for why he was able to win.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Right?
agree.
All those, the timing. He spent 25 minutes with the guy. the timing that he got, he was able to read all of Figgy's shots. And Figueiredo just couldn't replicate that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's kind of what got him. Though Figueiredo, to his credit, amazing character, took his loss with class.
Yeah. I
And
was a bit confused a little bit because he was so mean to Figueiredo in the stare down, right? He pushed him for no reason. I was like, man, this guy is just starting beef. And then after he lost, he was just like, oh, I love you, bro. It's like, okay. But yeah, he did handle it with class. If we ignore
yeah.
the press conference.
Well, I think the pushing and shoving, I think that's just part of the theatrics, right? You got to
Yeah.
sell the fight. But I was very impressed by that. And man, I was almost in tears. I could feel Moreno's emotion through the camera. It was
Yeah,
such a powerful
he's
moment.
also like such a relatable person, I feel like. I
Such a
feel
chill
like I
person.
want him to win so bad and I can feel his happiness. Yeah, I was like, Viva Mexico.
You became a Mexican nationalist.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, like, he's in the same league as someone like Canelo Alvarez, famous Mexican fighter.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure back in Mexico he's a hero now.
Yeah.
His life has completely changed. He probably has endorsements, advertising, sponsorships, stuff that he would have never imagined in the past. He effectively changed the lives for him and his family, and probably for his entire bloodline. So that was just a powerful moment for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add on that?
Um there's this jab that Moreno threw that dropped Figueiredo, and I was really surprised that that dropped him because I thought Figgy had a really strong chin, and that didn't really seem like a strong punch at all. Even in the replay, it looked like it looked like a punch that normal fighters would just like walk through. Like I wonder what happened. Was it weight
Well,
cut? Like,
it could have just been the fact that it was so surprising. Right? There's some things that, I don't know, like have you ever been necked?
oh,
When someone slaps you in the back of your neck?
no, but I know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, so that doesn't really hurt. But people react very violently to it. They react spontaneously to it, just because it's very surprising. You're not used to having those nerves triggered. So I think it might have just been something similar to that. It was just the timing of the jab was so perfect that Figueiredo didn't expect it, and that put him into shock. Not because he was injured, but just because it was unexpected.
So you don't think he was like concussed from that? You think he?
I mean, I can't help but feel like all fighters are perpetually concussed.
Yeah.
Uh,
What does
but
concussion mean? Just like any blow to the head that causes trauma. So
like, I guess anytime your brain rattles in your head.
yeah.
I mean, I considered that like a mild form of concussion. So I don't know. I don't think he got dropped because his equilibrium was off of damage to the head. I think he got dropped more because he was surprised.
Okay.
And I think that ultimately was bad for him losing the round, and it gave Moreno a lot of confidence to keep going.
Yeah.
Moreno was so clean. I wish I could fight like him.
Yeah. I also really appreciate how snappy he is with going after opportunities. Because like for example, after a wrestling scramble, I feel like most fighters they just like get back to their feet and like barge on. But Moreno was like, oh shit, he stood up and then immediately scrambled to Figueiredo's back. Like he saw that opportunity and took it. And even
Yeah.
in the first fight, for example, like I remember like, or not even in the first fight, just this fight, he got Figgy's guard down a little bit and then he immediately jumped in and hit a leg kick. I was like, oh, I like that. Yeah. Like he looked
Yeah.
away like boom. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
he's
super
very
scrappy.
yeah.
He'll take whatever you can get. I can respect that a lot.
Yeah.
He fought for every inch he got in that fight, and it paid off. That 6 month training camp that he started in January, that paid off.
Yeah. I was honestly very inspired by this fight. Like I want to fight now. But yeah.
Oh, hold your horses there, Tiger. It's
Yeah,
like one
it's a
step at a time.
fantasy, but it inspired a fantasy, yes.
Yeah, I mean it's very empowering. Moreno will be a very good champion. All right, so we've beaten this dead horse and who managed to escape the slaughter. Let's talk about the main event. Man, this main event was so strange.
Yeah.
I think you were kind of right on the money in that Marvin Vittori was, in your words, a lesser version of Jan Blachowicz, smaller version of him.
Yeah.
And I think in essentially no, in practice he did end up replicating that. Did you give any fights to Vittori? Did you give any of the rounds to
Well,
Vittori?
I didn't really watch the other rounds very carefully because it was like cutting off on my stream.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about. I just saw that. Here's what I saw. I saw Adesanya basically outstriking Marvin, and then Marvin getting a bunch of takedowns that didn't really do much damage to him. That's basically
Mm-hmm.
what I saw.
Yeah, that's effectively what happened. I
Mm.
thought that Vittori would do a better job keeping Adesanya down and doing a bit more damage on the ground. I was
Yeah.
sad to see that didn't happen. But there was also a very interesting thing in this fight where, aside from the leg kicks, which, Vittori took like a champ, it didn't seem like either guy hurt each other very much.
Yeah. I agree.
Like, aside from being tired, I feel like they could have gone for another 20 rounds.
Yeah. Do you think Adesanya played it safe or something?
I mean, it's hard to say because, like, what is playing safe for Adesanya? He went for the leg kicks to try to stop him, and, like, he tried to do the same thing he did against Paulo Costa, right? Do the leg
Hmm.
kicks, get him impossible to move, and then take him out,
Yeah.
right? He tried to do the same thing, it just didn't work.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, what is Marvin Vittori made out of? He ate head kicks after leg kicks after crosses, jabs, hooks, and he just kept going forward.
Yeah. Well, I think from what I gathered, I think Marvin Vittori has better defensive fundamentals than Paulo Costa. So it wasn't
Oh,
necessarily
definitely.
that he is tougher than Paulo Costa or has a better chin. I just think he managed to block a lot of things better. Like I don't know if he actually got
He did
hit by a
not check a
clean.
single leg kick.
That's true.
His legs at least are leagues ahead of Paulo Costa.
Did he get hit with any clean head kicks though?
He got hit with two clean head kicks that I
Really
saw. Yes.
interesting. Hmm.
And one of them actually was like the top of Adesanya's leg, top of the foot, hitting square on the chin like a hook.
Hmm. Damn.
And it was just insane. The man is a tank.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's a tank that doesn't hit very hard.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising because you'd think someone that large with such a strong musculature would be able to produce more power, but he sort of pushes punches. He doesn't snap punches. It's kind of a shame, I
Well,
feel like.
well, yeah, but that's the difference between like explosiveness and strength. Like if you're a weightlifter, for example, not actually weightlifting is a bad example. If you're a power lifter, you're
Yeah,
not very
yeah.
explosive. You're just there to hold positions. Even if you're a strong man, it's the same thing. Whereas if you're like an Olympic lifter who has to move weight very quickly, that's a different story. Your type 1 versus type 2 muscle fibers change. The requirements change.
Hmm.
So I think that's like being very muscular and dense and slow and strong. I think that does very well for defense. Whereas Adesanya's build, which is very small, fast, and explosive, is very good for offense.
Hmm.
So I think I said this to you while we were watching this, but it was quite literally the unstoppable force versus the immovable object.
Yeah.
And it seemed like, if not for the leg kicks, this fight could have gone either way.
Yeah.
If Marvin Vittori just checked the leg kicks, and then that would have dissuaded Adesanya from constantly pushing them, or hell, he could have probably broken Adesanya's leg by checking them. The
That's
fight
true.
would have been it would have been a wash, 50-50.
Hmm.
Can you think of any reason to give it to Adesanya if you take away the leg kicks?
Uh, punches thrown to the head, kicks thrown to the
Maybe,
head, kicks thrown to the
but
body.
do you count? Well, kicks on the body, there was just a couple. But do you evaluate based on like number of strikes, or you evaluate based on damage done?
Well, I guess the thing is the takedowns didn't do much damage either, right?
Yeah, but that's at least something, right? I think Vittori and Adesanya, minus from like the legs upwards, did about the same damage to each other.
Yeah. Also, another thing is like, do we take into consideration chin? Because like, if we assume that both of them have equal chin, then I think Adesanya did more damage.
Yeah, but I would count damage based on how that changes a person, right? Like for example, we probably would consider Nate Diaz winning over Leon Edwards because he looked in the last round. It looked like he did way more damage than Leon did in the previous rounds, right?
Yeah.
So I think it would based on the appearance of damage. I guess is how I would evaluate it. In that case, the only real damage that I saw the entire round was Adesanya's or leg kicks, and then other than that, none.
So none of them got wobbled at all.
No wobbling. I didn't even see them flinch.
Interesting. Even Kevin Holland managed to wobble Vittori.
Yeah, so I think this was a very interesting fight because when Izzy fought Jan was saying, okay, Izzy wasn't as fast as I expected, but he hit harder.
Yeah.
Which is a very strange thing to say against a guy who effectively fights against heavyweights who lean heavyweights.
Yeah.
So I actually don't understand because we've seen Izzy knock people out. The only people who could eat his shots head on were Yoel Romero and Marvin Vittori.
Yeah. It's so interesting how different people have different tolerances to brain trauma. And like, even Paulo Costa, you look at him, he looks like he has a really strong chin, and he does, but he somehow managed to get knocked out by Adesanya.
And I just don't know how you can predict that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but Adesanya, he has a very strong chin. He has a crazy chin. He ate Jan's strikes. He ate Vittori. He ate Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa didn't land anything.
Yoel Romero, though. A few.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he almost ate a flying knee. So it was a very tough position to be in. So he's very strong. But he has been knocked out before, but not in the UFC. And I mean, this fight was just, at this point, like, let's say we talk about the future. We see Bobby Knuckles and Izzy rematch.
Yes.
I don't see it going any different than the first round, than their first fight.
Yeah, same.
I mean, this is the problem. Like, Kamaru Usman, his problem is that he's running out of people to fight. He's going to fight Colby Covington, maybe Leon Edwards in the future.
Yeah.
And then we have Israel Adesanya. He's going to rematch. He's going to go back through the roster, fight people again. And then we have Francis Ngannou, who, after he knocks out... He's knocked out every heavyweight except Derek Lewis.
Oof.
And at that point, it's the three African kings have no one to fight.
The three African kings, yeah.
So I don't know if you could expect this, but we're like in an era where champions are super dominant, which was never really the case in the history of the UFC. Other than Georges St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, and John Jones, there were no such thing as dominant champion. He might just be in that position.
Yeah. If Izzy wins against Whitaker, which probably will happen, what does he have left? He wants to fight Darren Till. Darren Till has to get another win.
Yes, Darren Till.
That'd be
And
fun.
maybe like Khamzat Chimaev if he comes back.
Yeah.
That's a long way away.
Yeah. Also, I'm very interested in him fighting Luke Rockhold, actually. I think Luke Rockhold is actually really good. He just has no defense. Like, I mean, he doesn't have...
He has no chin.
You know, I watched some of his, like, WEC fights. I think it was WC. Yeah, he had a really good chin. I think he
Yeah,
just
and
deteriorated from getting knocked out too
look.
much.
If we're talking about Luke Rockhold of the past, you have options,
Hmm.
right? I could think that, but now it's like expecting Tyron Woodley to knock out Izzy.
Hmm. But you know,
It's
Luke
just,
Rockhold's actually coming back though. He's gonna fight like a top 10.
I mean, he will. I'm not very optimistic for his future. I
Mm,
mean, also, why would he want to come back and fight? He's an attractive model. He's living a good life.
yeah, I think maybe he just wants a purpose.
Maybe, but he could do like some charity work. Bilal Muhammad is going to Africa to help distribute medical supplies. You know,
Yeah,
there are options for people besides fighting.
yeah. I think he needs to reassess his life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say because we don't know his situation. Maybe he's really dying for money, and fighting
Mm,
is one of the few things he's good at.
yeah.
Hmm. Anyway, I think that should probably conclude this fight cards episode. Do you have anything else to add, Daniel?
That's all I have.
All right.